have started. John Lee Dumas, how are you, sir?
Jay, I am here, loving your energy, loving your vibe, brother. I am prepared to ignite.
That's awesome. Been hearing so many awesome things about your podcast. Your name's all over the world. You're doing so many phenomenal things. I love the title, On Fire, and the new book. John, can you tell us a little bit about the new book and any questions you got for me? We can kind of vibe here. I'd love to be able to, I'm loving this space we get a chance to share together.
Let's just vibe, brother. You know, I love adding value. I love just having just natural, organic conversations. So I'm excited for all of those things. Just real quick, though, you asked about the book. I mean, this is a culmination, Jay, of 3,000 interviews I've done over the past decade with the world's most successful entrepreneurs. And I sat down after 10 years of having these amazing conversations, and I said, what are the commonalities that the Les Browns have, the Tim Ferrisses, the Gary Vaynerchuks, the top entrepreneurs of the world? What are the commonalities that successful entrepreneurs share? And I came up with 17 core foundational principles that make up the commonalities that every single successful entrepreneur possesses. And being a military guy, I was an Army officer for 8 years. I said, you know what, there's a roadmap here. There's a step-by-step roadmap. I want to put it in this chronological order. So I sat down. I put the 17 steps in chronological order. I saw that it was a 17-chapter book staring me back in the face. And brother, over 8 months, 480 hours, I wrote 71,000 words.
480 hours?
480 hours it took me to write this book. And it was 71,000 words, 273 pages. And it is the common path to uncommon success. It is a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment.
What inspired that book, John, by the way?
My audience inspired the book because honestly, Jay, and you get this, I know as well, people see the success that you've achieved and they have questions for you because success does leave clues. And I get emails by the tens, the hundreds, the thousands every day, week, and month. And I can't answer every question. I would love to, but I can't. There's just no time in the world. So I said, it's time to just write the definitive answer. And it's in this book. And now I can just gift this book to everybody who has the question on how to achieve financial freedom and fulfillment, on how to achieve their version of uncommon success. And it feels great.
You know, my favorite chapter of the book, I was blessed enough to be able to get a preview of it. And my favorite chapter is about the mentor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I think so many times we hear about the mentor. You know, I played professional baseball for 6.5 years and had a lot of phenomenal coaches. As a matter of fact, Bruce Bochy, which won 3 World Series with the San Francisco Giants. Oh. He was my coach coming up through the minor leagues with the San Diego Padres. We won 2 minor league championships, and then most of the team went to the major leagues the next year. And those influences, when you look back on it, it just makes the difference. And I think that so many times people take the word coaching or mentoring for granted. I mean, and for me, it's everything. You know, my parents were crazy when I was growing up. My parents got divorced like so many parents. And so for me, having those coaches, it went a long way to keeping me in line. I mean, who's been your favorite mentors, John?
It's a great question, brother. So what I learned early on, because I went to college on an Army scholarship. So when I graduated, I immediately became an officer in the U.S. Army. And when you're a second lieutenant, that's the lowest rank in the officer corps, you immediately get assigned a mentor. Now, that mentor is a first lieutenant who's typically 18 months ahead of you in ranking and, of course, experience. And it's not just nice to have, it's a must have because you're in a life and death situation. I mean, I was in Iraq for 13 months as a tank platoon leader in charge of 16 men, 4 tanks in the desert in a war. And if you don't have a mentor who's been there, who's done that, who can literally take you by the hand and say, this is how you do things because I've done it and this is how it's done right, that's life and death. Like death will occur if you don't have a great mentor. That's, of course, in the ultimate situation, which is combat and war. Now, of course, in other situations, it's not 100% always life and death, of course, but it can be life and death of your business. It can be life and death of your baseball career. It can be life and death of your business career. And so it's so key that you find a mentor that fits the following phrase. Your mentor is somebody who's currently where you want to be. I wanted to be a successful officer in the U.S. Army. So my mentor was a successful officer in the U.S. Army. When I wanted to go and find and launch my podcast, and I wanted to find a mentor for myself to launch this podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire, 10 years ago, 3,000 episodes ago, 100 million listens ago.
3,000 ago?
3,000, brother.
100 million hit here?
100 million listens to date. Yes.
Wow.
What did I do though? I went and I found a successful business podcast host. Okay. And she was able to guide me every step of the way because she knew it. She had been there. She had done that. And that's why I was able to replicate the process. Just like I'm sure for you in sports, you found somebody who was successful that was, more experienced, more successful at that point to be your mentor. And that is such a key part in the process. So I love that you pulled that out, Jay.
Yeah. When you were talking about that, I can remember at 19 years of age when I got drafted by the Padres. I go to my first spring training. I'm walking down by the batting cages and there's Tony Gwynn.
Oh, Tony.
And I'm sitting there, I'm walking up, I'm kind of creeping up. I'm like, shit, what am I going to say? And I get up and here's what tripped me out, John. Tony Gwynn sitting there with the batting tee. He's hitting off a batting tee. So one of the greatest hitters, who I consider the greatest hitter of all time, he's sitting there hitting off the batting tee. And I go up to him and I say, Mr. Gwynn, can I ask you a question? Why are you hitting off a tee? He goes, you don't have to call me Mr. Gwynn. I'm Tony. We're teammates. Yeah, I am 19 years old, right? He's been like my idol, growing up.
How old was he?
I said, why are you hitting off a tee? He goes, because I master my mechanics.
Ooh.
And I never stop mastering my mechanics so that it never becomes a matter of if I'm going to hit. It's just a matter of when I'm going to swing. I was like,
in podcasting, Jay, we call that a mic drop, but you just call that a bat drop in baseball. Drop the bat, walk away.
And then he goes to me, John, he goes, and he told me something that changed everything for me. He goes, I'm going to give you one of my tips after this. I said, what is that? He goes, all you got to do is learn how to recognize the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand. He goes, most people are just looking and reacting. He says, I'm making sure that I know what pitch is coming. And I said, well, how you do that? He says, when the pitcher is about to take a step back, as soon as he steps back, he goes, I'm looking at his hat the entire time. But when he takes one step back, I take my eyes to an imaginary box. If he's right-handed or left-handed. So if he's right-handed, I go to an imaginary box about like that. He goes, and I'm looking through that box. And he said, if you do this over and over and over again, if you practice, kind of like your 3,000 podcasts that you've had, you do it over and over and over again. He says, this will become like this to you. He goes, and if you see those fingers behind the ball, that's a fastball. He said, if you can pitch it up on the side of the ball, that's a slider. You see the fingers on top, that's a curveball. If you see it choke, that's a changeup. He goes, this is all about recognition. So, John, what would you say about recognizing opportunities with your new book? I see it as an opportunity. Like everybody can slow it down. It's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. If people just hit it, they can hit it out of the park. That's how I see your book, by the way. I'm really so impressed by your book. Can you tell us how you feel about the recognition of opportunities and where people can go to get that book?
Okay, so listen, brother. I love everything that you're saying here because we're just speaking the same language here. I mean, success leaves clues. And, the fact that you asked Tony Gwynn the right questions allowed him to give you the right answers. You didn't go up to him and say, hey, what's the best club down here in San Diego where I can, get all the ladies? You said like, hey, why are you hitting off of a tee? Like you asked the right questions. And that honestly is my point, is that when it comes to being an entrepreneur and a businessman or a businesswoman, you need to learn how to ask the right questions. Like somebody will pay a lot of money to bring me on for a one-on-one coaching call, and they'll spend the entire time just asking the wrong questions. And it's got to a point, Jay, where I literally had to accept their coaching call, but then send them, hey, these are the questions I recommend that you ask, because it's going to be so helpful for you to at least help and guide them into what kind of questions they should be asking, the ways they should be thinking. So I love that you pulled out again that chapter 5, step 5, which was the mentorship chapter. The one that I'll talk about specifically.
My number, by the way, I was number 5.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. The one that I'll talk specifically about, though, that, you know, came up for me when you were talking about the repetition, picturing the box so you could see the hand, how the positioning was. That was chapter 7, step 7. This book's 71,000 words. The average chapter is 3,500 words. Chapter 7's 13,500 words.
Ooh.
The name of that chapter is Designing Your Content Production Plan. Now, Jay, listen, you don't get to do 3,000 interviews in a decade if your content production plan sucks. You don't get to 100 million listens. You don't get to 1.4 million listens. My podcast has been generating over $100,000 of net profit. We're not talking gross revenues, net profit every month for 91 months in a row. 91. So just like Tony Gwynn was so consistent and so persistent with his batting average and his hitting and everything that he did, like, that's what I've done with my content production plan. It is putting in the reps. My content production plan was terrible.
Making me write that down, by the way. 91 consecutive months
of a net profit of over $100,000, 91 months in a row. And one thing that we do, Jay, we publish our income reports every single month on our website, eofire.com, because I know that success leaves clues. And
again, John, what's the website?
eofire.com.
All right. I'm sorry about that. I want everybody.
Yeah, no worries. Because I know that success leaves clues, and I want my success to leave clues for people that come after me. I stood on the shoulders of giants, and I want people to learn from me as well, just like I've learned from others that have come before me, like the Les Browns of the world. I've learned so much from him on, you know, how to be a speaker, you know, how to present, how to laugh. You know, that guy's got the best laugh in the world. I mean, it is so contagious. You just can't help but love that guy. The first, not the second time, not the third time, the first time you hear him laugh. And it is just a magical thing. But listen, before I pass the mic back over to you, I'd love to know this. It's just a personal question. Tony Gwynn, the best hitter you've ever seen. Who's number 2?
I say Bonds, man.
Bonds.
For power and average. I mean, you know, I know he's a controversial figure, but I'm talking pound for pound as far as what I've seen.
Yeah.
Bonds. I mean, to be able to have that discipline, to be able to have, when you walk up, a lot of the times they're intentionally walking you.
Right.
So he has to be ready. And so for him to be ready when it's time to hit and to hit consistently. And again, I'm telling you, everybody is tripped out about his attitude, but man, when it comes time to perform, Bonds was just ridiculous.
That's good to know. I love that. That's good inside scoop.
But when I look back, I've got a platform now. It's a meditation app platform, and it's called ConfidenceTones.com. ConfidenceTones.com, and it's the daughter of a much larger app that's being built now with all of the stress that's been going on with the pandemic. Most people don't know that the meditation world has gone to a whole new level, and it's really stressed a lot of people out. So I'm really focused now, and I think what your book is going to do is really kind of help with this. Plato said, the great philosopher said, give me a child until they're 7, and I'll show you the man or the woman. That always stuck out with me. Give me a child until they're 7. So I'm like, what is it about that? So when I went and studied that, the formation of the human brain and the subconscious mind is really formed around 0 to 7, but we don't have any input in 0 to 7. I ask people all the time, what were you doing when you were two years old? They're like, huh? So from 0 to 7, we don't have any input. The first 2 years, your brain waves are operating at delta. And then from 2 to 7, your brain waves are operating at theta. So my son, who's almost 6, he'll be 6 this month, he speaks 2 languages. So my wife is from Colombia, and so he speaks Spanish and English all throughout the day, all day. He goes in between languages, no problem, because his brain's in theta, kind of like a hypnotic state. The point I'm making with this is that if we could help remap the programming. So a lot of folks are walking around in their bodies and their subconscious mind are from what's happened from 0 to 7. So when we have a book like yours to be able to help folks with their subconscious programming, is there anything you could say about your book, about your teaching, about your site? Because the repetition and the consistency of what you've done, people don't know what they're doing out there these days, and it's really not their fault. John, is there any advice you could give on that?
Listen, I am a big believer in meditation. I have a morning routine that literally is the reason why I'm able to stay as consistent as I am, to produce the 3,000 episodes I've done over the past decade, to continue to, create content and do the things that I want to do. I'm not going to go into super detail, but I just real quick, I'm out every morning, first thing. I'm walking my dog in the blue sky to get my cortisol level spiking, when the sun's coming up. And, then I'm going to my gym. I'm lifting weights with my trainer to actually lift heavy things. I'm in my sauna. I have an infrared sauna that I spend 30 minutes in. I actually have a plunge pool that's coming in 2 weeks, which I'm really excited about. I'm adding that to the equation, which is going to be a lot of fun. But after I'm done with my sauna, I go out to my pool and I do 3 things. Okay. I journal for 20 minutes to get stuff out of my brain and onto a piece of paper. Okay. Then I meditate for 15 minutes because I love, now that I have a clear mind, to meditate, to get into those waves that you're talking about. Yeah. And then I read a book, and typically it's a business book that I really find, intriguing or something along those lines, while I'm kind of laying out, relaxing in the morning. And that morning routine is so critical. And so few people are filling up their cup, are filling up themselves in the morning. Instead, they're doing what I call OPP. They wake up in the morning, other people's problems. They are opening their email. They're getting bombarded with this problem, that problem, that problem. Already their day's junk because they're already just thinking about all the problems in the world.
Turning on the news.
They're turning on the news. They're going into Instagram. They're going on different social media apps, and they're seeing all the stuff that other people are doing, that other people have as problems. What about you? Like, what about you, the individual? And that's why I love what you're doing with Confidence Tones. I love, the just putting the thought into people's brains on the impact that you can have on your child from 7 and before. Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard parents say, well, they don't remember anything till they're 7. So, I can do whatever I want and it's not going to affect them. Oh, yes, it is. And know that, because otherwise they're setting their children up for a lot tougher road than it otherwise could be.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, this has been a blessing, to get that routine. Matter of fact, we're getting you on the Confidence Tones platform. My staff is going to send you over VIP access just to see what you think. We want to know what John Lee Dumas, since he's already in that world. We're love to see how you feel about these tones, man. I do every day. I wake up in the morning, I grab my headphone. I'm like you. I wake up every morning. People say, what do you do to stay completely motivated? I'm like, I command my brain.
Yes.
Before I do anything else. So I put my headphones on. I got my meditations. Like right now, we got one called Elevate because I'm doing a lot of business. I know that I need to have my energy up. I got to have my creativity. So I'm putting those incredible theta waves right through my brain first thing in the morning. We got beautiful music that just soothes you. So John, thank you for the contribution you're making right now. We have an orphanage school in Kenya, Africa. I've been running that school for over 10 years. Dr. Amos Abuga, he's there now. We have up to 370 orphans every month, 8 teachers, full school program. I'm going to definitely have them do a video and send that over to you, just thanking you for your contribution that you're making, because we're going to put your book over in the school and have our teachers teach from some of your books to the orphans. I don't know how you feel about that, but I want to share everything.
I feel on top of the world. Like, there's some causes that are near and dear to my heart, and one of them is one called Pencils of Promise, and they build schools in developing countries, Laos, Cambodia, Guatemala. And we've built multiple schools over the past 10 years. And we actually went down to Guatemala 2 years ago for the ribbon cutting ceremony of the school that we built with our donation. And just seeing the children, the teachers, the education that we were gifting to these kids that otherwise would have had no access because they weren't within 200 miles of a school. And now there was one, and it was such a rewarding experience. So I love what you're doing, brother.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate this time. We know you got all kind of folks to keep talking to, because listen, He's only got over 100 million people's listening. So I'm sure the next 100 million can't wait to hear from you too. It's been a blessing, man. Been an honor to be able to share this space with you, John. I appreciate you so much for the time you shared. Before you go, how can people get the book? Can you give them some clear directions? I know that I think there's some promotional opportunities too for people to get the book. Is that correct?
Good. It smells good, just so you know. This book, this is a decade of my life dialed down into 273 pages. That's the power of books. You know, for what turns out to be a very small investment, you are literally getting a decade of me interviewing 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs on Entrepreneurs on Fire. Their learnings, their knowledge, their value, all compressed into these pages. And this book is live to the world on March 23rd. But if you pre-order before March 23rd, you get 5 insane bonuses. And I mean insane bonuses. I told you I was a big journaler. I actually have created 3 journals of my own, the Freedom Journal, the Mastery Journal, and the Podcast Journal. And you get all 3 of these journals for free. You also get 4 other insanely awesome bonuses when you head over to uncommonsuccessbook.com, uncommonsuccessbook.com. You'll see endorsements for the book from Gary Vaynerchuk, Neil Patel, Seth Godin, Erica Mandy, Dory Clark. You'll get the first chapter for free so you can kind of read and see my writing style. You'll see all 5 bonuses listed out there, uncommonsuccessbook.com.
All right, man. Everybody go grab that book. I know I've got my book that I'm getting, and I'm going to have all of my folks get it, and it's going to be over in the orphanage school so they can go teach these kids how to be entrepreneurs. I know that's what you believe in. Thank you for this space. John Lee Dumas, everybody.
You're the man, Jay.
All right. Awesome.